We're live.
We are live. It is time for another exciting discussion. And yeah, there's always something new and fun to talk about as we watch our country just burn to the ground. So that's always good.
Fun and exciting.
Yeah. Never a dull moment, that's for sure.
I want to open the stream on my phone because I just want to see what it looks like because I never get to do this. Okay. Ah, it's us. There we are. I'm gonna wave my okay, okay. Look at that.
Well,
Anyway, how are you?
yeah, I am okay. I'm just having some technology issues tonight, but other than that, doing great, hanging in there. Nobody is knocking at my door and asking about my social media posts yet, so that's a win.
Yeah, I feel that. Ah,
Well,
I'll
kidding.
be honest. Why do I even check my email like right before the show? I was doing better today that until I saw this email. Like it's just, and this isn't even like breaking news. This happened on Tuesday, but it's anyway.
What is it about? Do tell.
The thing, well, if you guys haven't heard, the House is doing an impeachment query on President Biden. If you don't know that, you've truly been living under a rock. But here, I again, when my friend emailed this to me, I did not think it was real. But the White House, like, I kid you not, guys, the White House sent a memo to the executives of United States media companies. This is the actual memo. This is like real. It's on the news. You can Google it yourself. But it's a memo telling the media how to respond, how to handle, how to compose talking points, telling them the talking points to deal with the impeachment, which is nuts. It's titled "It's Time for the Media to Do More to Scrutinize House Republicans demonstrably false claims that they're basing impeachment stunt on." So it's the White House saying the impeachment is a hoax, and I am telling you, the media, to report that the impeachment is a hoax. It's the craziest
Mhm.
thing. We've seen some crazy stuff, including COVID things. I'll just say, COVID was very real and very serious. Yeah, that's all we'll say about that. But this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. This is like stuff that I've studied that Stalin or Mao did.
Mhm.
Like, this is it reminds me of the freaking movie V for Vendetta, when the news comes out and the events are happening in real time, and the guy just grabs a camera, records a little 12-second snapshot, and comes up with the complete lie. But he's the guy. He's the Anderson Cooper of this world. So everyone believes him. Everyone believes whatever he says.
Yep. Yep. They think that for some reason they've got some credibility, and maybe it's just because they're the news. They're the people that are supposed to be reporting and giving us an accurate overall view of what's happening. They should be a trusted source. So I think that's pretty much all they bank pretty much everything they do on. It's like we're the news, so people are going to trust whatever we say. And unfortunately, it's true. They don't actually have to say anything meaningful. They don't actually have to say anything in depth. They're just like, these are the talking points. And there's a really good chance that most people aren't even going to look into it. So it doesn't matter if it's true or not. So I
So
have not seen this in depth. So I'm flying blind here.
that's totally fine. Literally, my friend, who's running for office. So if you live in Loudoun County, vote Michael Rivera for school board at large member. But
Mhm.
and hey, I mean, these days, if you don't live in Loudoun County, if you're not even alive, send in that vote. Um, I will say that the actual Constitution says this. If you bother to read it, when people say the Constitution, they almost always jump immediately to the amendments. But there's an actual Constitution pre the amendments. It's the framework that says how the government is to operate. It's 5 articles. It's very short. But anyway, no, 8 articles. Oh, geez. Google it. But it actually says in the actual Constitution when it's talking about the president and what they can do, and it's talking about removal, it says for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, when they're always going after people, they try and be super general, and they're like high crimes and misdemeanors. There's a lot of scholarly junk about that. And there's a lot of, oh, well, maybe they meant this. They were pretty clear. Many of the founders were attorneys, so they knew a good bit about the law. Alexander Hamilton wrote a lot. Thomas Jefferson wrote a lot about high crimes and misdemeanors with specificity. So these were the guys. These were the actual guys. So what they said high crimes and misdemeanors are, I think that's what they were. But we don't even need to get into that. This impeachment is based on very clearly defined, clear and articulatable facts based around bribery. And there's no gray. It's actually in the Constitution. None of the Supreme Court justices can convince me that they don't understand this word bribery to mean bribery. Quid pro quo. I'm giving you this for that. If you don't do this, then I will levy this unpleasant thing against you. That's bribery. It's what Joe Biden is on record having done with the Ukraine prosecutor, and the financial documents, the bank records, which are legal documents, solid bank records that have come out about Hunter Biden and his dealings with his dad, who was then the vice president, is now the president, air quotes. It looks like he was involved in bribery. Don't know if he's still involved with bribery, but that's literally, it's not up for debate. It's literally in the Constitution. Super cut and dry. He did
Well,
this. The receipts are out there, and he's going to get away with it.
yeah, well, and that's just it. But I mean, it's interesting because the Constitution was pretty straightforward. I think that it was intentionally meant to not be a complicated document. It's like these are the things that constitute a crime by a president. These are the bounds in which our government can operate. These are the rights of the people, and this is who gets to grant the rights to those people. Period. But the Democrats really like to make things complicated because they're trampling all over it, so they have to make it sound far more complicated than it is, and they're constantly changing the meaning of these words. Where we can see things like quid pro quo Joe trying to, bribe somebody to stop
That's good.
investigating his son and using taxpayer dollars to do it, whereas they spend years investigating Donald Trump, accusing him of what their definition of bribery is, which never happened. But they call that, the crime of the century, the crime, that actually needs to be prosecuted. So it just they just make things so much more difficult than it is. But if we actually stuck to what the document said, like there wouldn't be this man would be behind bars. He would have been behind bars a long time ago. That's why like I said, I don't know if it was on camera when I said it, but I have not looked that much into this impeachment thing because I'm so tired of hearing the possibility of Joe Biden being impeached and just having it not happen because we know all of the evidence is there. We know that this man is like the most corrupt human being on planet Earth at this time. And that's saying a lot. I mean, and that's probably exaggeration because there's a lot of people that fall in that category. But in my opinion, right now in this moment, that's where he falls. And there's just, I don't think there could be any more arrows pointing to that fact. And it's just nothing to happen. I think we're all a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. They're going to do the impeachment inquiry, but it's not going to survive the Senate. They're just going to be like, no. And then the Republicans would be like, we tried, guys. Vote for us again.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
oh.
So unfortunately, that's where that's at. Just as depressing as ever. Still, Joe Biden will still be the even if they have to wheel him in on a gurney, because Kamala informed all of us and Joe Biden, because I'm sure he didn't know, that, if Joe's not okay, that Kamala can just step in and be the next president in his place, which I would say is just as terrifying. But if we're honest about it, like, we know Joe's not running the show anyway, so like, even if Kamala was the front person, she wouldn't be running the show either. So does it really matter?
Sad but true. So,
Yeah.
not really news, but yeah. So,
On that depressing note, sorry guys. But we are going to talk about 9/11, because that's just sad and depressing.
is that
That show.
supposed to be a less depressing topic?
No,
Oh
no. If
man.
we're looking for something uplifting tonight, this is not the show. I'm so sorry. Um, yeah, but we should talk about what happened on 9/11, because that is just equally as egregious.
Oh man. I don't think we can talk about that on YouTube. Uh,
9/11.
yeah. What? Wait. What do you mean by what happened on? Never mind.
Okay.
Your show. I'll.
Not 9/11 like 22 years ago. I mean 9/11 as
Oh.
in 4 days ago.
Yes, the 22nd anniversary of 9/11. Uh, well, I can't believe this media. If you guys haven't heard, again, don't know. I mean, your audience is a smart audience, so you're tracking this already. But Joe Biden, surprise, surprise, the guy who makes only stellar decisions, really crapped the bed on 9/11. So he did not visit any of the three uh, uh, crash sites, any of the three memorial sites. One of them is like down the street from his house. Like the Pentagon is like, it's like a 3-minute helicopter ride from the White House. But, he was kicking it in Asia like he always does. So he stopped by a military base in Alaska and, said some things. And if you watched any of the coverage, those things that he said were lies. I don't know what it is with this man. He has this. Like, Joe, it is 2023. The internet has existed for a long time. People have been carrying around cell phones with cameras for a long time. You can't just lie. Like, you can say stuff and we can find out instantly after you said it if it's true or not. For whatever reason, when he's giving his very moving speech to the troops in Alaska, he lied and said that he remembered being there at Ground Zero the day after. So we're talking September 12th, 2001. The only problem is that's not true. When then Senator from Delaware went to visit is heavily documented. He was given an official tour of the Ground Zero site. But the part there's so many articles about this, but the part that was just really sad to me is this woman, Terry Strada. She lost her husband in the 9/11 attacks. So she's kind of what the military calls a Gold Star family member. But she says, like, she's watching this thing and she says, I caught this blunder as soon as I heard him say it. And then she says, if he can be that flippant about something so important, it made it impossible to believe anything that came out of his mouth after. I tend to agree, Terry. She goes on to say, one thing the 9/11 community wanted to hear from our president on the anniversary was accountability. And he just, I don't know what it is with this guy. Whenever he can wake up and be dragged out of bed, put on the suit, and do the job as president, he lies.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty much like grieving Joe Biden. I don't understand either. And this is, I mean, I don't think that we can just blame it on him being old and, the cognitive struggles that he is having. This is just something that Joe does. And they probably didn't even want him at the memorial because they're like, he's probably just going to start talking about how he almost lost his cat.
Oh yeah, he makes everything about him. I almost died in a plane crash once. Like, no, Joe. No. Yeah. Didn't he do that at Pearl Harbor?
What?
Didn't he say something like that at Pearl Harbor? Where? Oh no, it wasn't Pearl Harbor. It was a mass shooting. He went and made it about him. I mean, he always does. I don't know why I'm even trying to think of the specific event. Um, you know.
Several. I almost lost my cat. I almost lost my Corvette. My son died in Afghanistan. My brother, like it. It just it's just the way that he talks. He just blurts these things out. For some reason, it doesn't occur to him that there's going to be a record of, because he has been in part of government in some capacity for 50 years. There's literally a record of every step that he has taken since like 1850. So he can't say, he can't just start making things up about where he's been because most of his time is documented based on what he was doing during whatever role, whatever he was doing in government at the time. So, and I believe I read, because, I don't remember, it was 22 years ago, but George Bush, who was the president at the time, didn't even get to the 9/11 site until, I believe, September 14th. So I find it really hard to believe that this random senator from Delaware showed up before the president of the United States was. I mean, Joe doesn't exactly have a history of caring about disasters in America or the destruction of America. So I have a hard time that he was motivated and, at that time to go and show his love and support when that's not really his MO. So
This is my favorite part of the whole ordeal. It's bad enough that the president is a compulsive liar. He just lies all the time. But then he orders his White House lackeys to double down on the lie. Now, KJP has an opportunity all the time to say the president misspoke. To bite the bullet and say, we gave him the wrong notes. We gave him the wrong material. Instead, she doubles down on the lie. And apparently, this is Peter Ducey recounting this, that she gave this analogy, basically saying 22 years after Pearl Harbor, U.S. presidents were not still going to Hawaii. That's the nonsense. Say again?
That maybe they should.
Well, here's the problem. They do. Every president goes start like, that's not true. It's like she just lied again.
I honestly didn't know that that's something that they regularly do, but I'm like,
oh yeah,
should be doing. I mean, we should be honoring the historical events that happen in our country. But the only time these people want to honor our historical monuments is to burn them down. So
yeah, it's 20 years after it happened. President Kennedy visited the U.S. Memorial, or USS Arizona Memorial, laid the wreath. Obama did. Trump did. Like everyone did. So of the presidents since 9/11, Bush and Obama did not go. They did their 9/11 memorial from the White House one time in their 8 years. Trump went to one of the sites every time. All of these presidents also went to Hawaii to commemorate not D-Day, goodness gracious, Pearl Harbor. Like you can't just tell these lies. This was corrected on Twitter minutes after she said the lie with pictures and library links from the presidents have library. Like, this is so obviously false. They think that they live in a world that the internet just doesn't work. They're like, I can go out there and say whatever I want. And they'll be like, everyone will believe me because this is the White House. And I mean, we already know that they're out here telling the news what to say. This
Well,
country is nuts.
well, if you ever want to find out if there are people that are falling for this crap, just click on any kind of left-wing news article and you will see that those people are still alive and well, despite the fact that they've all been jabbed and boosted 86 times. Like they're still hanging in there. But they believe this stuff. Like my head has almost exploded off of my shoulder so many times this week because I click on things that I think there are going to be some common sense discussion points happening in the comments, and it's all just like these people believing everything that they're told. And I'm like, well, that's enough for that for today. You know,
I've
I don't.
actually been reading a lot of comments lately because I haven't been posting a lot. So I've been, uh, yeah, YouTube and Instagram comments are just pure gold. And TikTok too. If you have a TikTok, the comments are just hilarious. Twitter comments have been like, sorry, X. Sorry, Elon. I didn't mean to offend. But Twitter comments have been lacking lately, at least in my feed. So
Well, I mean, I have a whole theory about why, Joe Biden, it really just isn't going to work for him to talk about 9/11 anyway. This isn't even a joke. First of all, the left cannot talk about any historical events where they might have to acknowledge that America has unified after it. Because I don't know about you, when I think about 9/11, obviously we think about what actually happened, but it's September 12th that really stands out to me because we had all of these people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, from all over the country, and everybody put their differences aside and came together and said, you cannot do that to this country. It's completely opposite of what the Democrat Party stands for. And not only that, 20 years after this happened, Joe Biden handed our military base back to the people attack. He has done more to empower the terrorists that attack our country than he's done to empower American people. Not only that, he's got to go in there and he's got to talk about how brave law enforcement is and firefighters and all of these people that put their lives on the line to protect American people. And again, that is not something that he stands for. So that there is literally nothing that Joe Biden can go in and talk about and actually be believed if he were to honor 9/11 in any way, because everything that he has done specifically has been contradictory to honoring that event in the name of the.
something else that happened on September 12th, 2001, outside the military, tens of thousands of Americans walked into recruiters' offices ready to raise their right hand. Now, it actually takes a little bit longer. You don't raise your right hand there on the first day. They have to take you somewhere else to do that. But tens of thousands of Americans did that. And thousands of service members who were serving who had put out retirement paperwork tore it up because they knew that the military was about to go to work for the country. So they put their retirements on hold. And, some of those people died in combat that they had already served 20 plus years. But you're right. The Democrats are in a really hard place talking about events like Pearl Harbor or like 9/11 because what they can't do, because it's a big loser, they can't throw shade at George Bush. They can't be like, well, these tragedies happened under Republican leadership. That is a loser. That is, if you want to see his like 2% approval rating go to zero, if he did that. And you're right, they can't talk about how we came together, united, put our differences aside. That was back when that was a crazy world. There were two genders, 2 + 2 = 4. People killed people, not guns indiscriminately killing people. It was a crazy world back then. Yep.
Those were the good old days. But
I don't want to do the rest of the tweets about the impeachment case. I just that media thing just put me over it. Yeah, but Act of Valor popped up in my feed, in my suggested watch stuff. I've already seen it. I didn't watch it again. But when it was weird. I was getting all kinds of patriotic stuff in my feed, this week because of 9/11. But Rourke Denver's book, Damn Few, popped up, which I've read about half of. Obviously, I'm Team Army. Rourke was a Navy SEAL, so obviously he's Navy. So I've read Tony Schwalm's book, who's Lieutenant Colonel in the Army, The Guerrilla Factory, Making Modern... or The Guerrilla Factory, Making the Modern Green Beret Warrior, or something like that. Anyway, Rourke Denver, who's a commander now in the reserve, still as a SEAL, he was the star of Act of Valor. He was the one that jumps on the grenade and dies in the end. But they include this poem in the movie. So obviously, Rourke Denver did not die in combat. He's still alive today. And he did not send this letter to his unborn child. That was just Hollywood stuff. But the poem is in his book, Damn Few, Making a Modern SEAL Warrior, or whatever it's called. And I wanted to read it because it's Tecumseh. Huge fan of Tecumseh. If you don't know, he was a Native American warrior, and post the Civil War, he was a diplomat. Crazy. Considered Tecumseh, he was a chief. I think it was Shawnee. He was a chief, but consider him on the same caliber as the American generals of the late 1700s, because he was that guy. But anyway, he wrote this poem that Rourke Denver actually used in his speeches to his SEALs when they would go out on raids and stuff all of the time. So they included in the movie, and I just want to read it here because it's short. But it is really something that Tecumseh wrote, and it's cut down. The poem is longer, but this is the cut down version. It says, "So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion. Respect others in their view and demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long in its purpose in the service of your people. And when your time comes to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home."
Wow.
Really great poem. Look it up online. Read it yourself. It is longer, but I won't even say men. I'll say all Americans can take a lot from Tecumseh's old school, this is how you should live well. Like respecting others in their views and demanding they respect yours. Like just basic stuff. Anyway, that has been on this poem and all of the people that it was read to who died in Afghanistan, Iraq, Africa, and other places were just kind of on my mind this week. Yeah, so what do you want to talk about now?
I love that, and thank you for contributing something uplifting to the show, because it's
It
been
is uplifting.
really, I don't know, it's really not that complicated. I mean, it's not talking about anything spectacular here. It's be a good person, treat others how, be kind to people, choices.
Just some basic truths.
Not that hard, but it's really a lot of times those very simple messages that happen. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Candace Owens was just tearing into the OnlyFans girls on the Whatever podcast about not being a narcissist. Like, yes, seek to make your life long. That's fine. Desire to live a long life. Protect your body, eat well, exercise. But its purpose is make sure its purpose is in service to your people. That's why you should want to live a long life, to be an honorable person and to serve and honor other people, not to just be gripping to your measly little life. Our lives cosmically are nothing. We're here for 60, 80, maybe 100 years. And if you're a hardcore evolutionist that believes in hundreds of billions of years, that's nothing.
Right.
Our 90 years is nothing. So live it in service. Just, yeah. Anyway, this I'm glad
So,
that I got to share it on your show.
no, I appreciate that. And I think honestly, like we don't talk enough show in general. We don't talk enough about the importance of serving other people. That was a podcast episode, and I just thought it was hilarious. Like Candace Owens. Oh my gosh, such a contrast.
Yeah.
But I love she like that's one of the main points that she brought to the show was just this focus on other people and how much fulfillment and joy comes from serving other people and doing kind and good in the world, and how much misery comes when you're constantly just focused on yourself and what you want and what your desires are, and making everybody um, appease you essentially, fall at your feet and just do everything that they can. Like it's everybody else's job to make you happy. It's so much of how the world thinks, unfortunately, particularly on a particular side of the aisle. Everything is about me, and that's why these people are so miserable all the time. So I love that. I love that. It's
Yep.
giving yourself
That's a
to others.
clue.
Yep. Again, not that complicated, guys.
Yeah. If you're a narcissist, um, if you only care about yourself, for people that don't know what a narcissist is, everything the universe revolves around you. You are not going to be fulfilled. It's impossible,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be universally liked either. People generally don't like to spend time with people that don't care about them and only care about themselves. But it's impossible to truly fulfill yourself. That's why we have these ideas of families and communities, and that's why Aristotle said there seems to be an order to the universe. Well, this self-replicating thing, man and woman, they fall in love, they get married, they have kids, their kids have kids. These family units form multiple families, form communities. They kind of take care of each other. It's kind of a thing. That's kind of how this all works. But
I
whatever.
know. It's shocking.
Maybe we're crazy, Maybe the Looney Tunes are right. Maybe Tecumseh was wrong. Aristotle, Socrates, Jesus, maybe they were all wrong, and abortion's the way to go, and we should sacrifice ourselves so the planet can flourish, whatever that means. Uh,
Well, the planet is not flourishing either. It is literally burning. And so I have concerns about that. So no, there's a lot to be said.
we got to keep your show on the air on YouTube. Uh, I just feel like more and more stuff comes out about Hawaii, and let's not forget the weirdo Canadian fires that all happened at about the same time, technically in the same instant, but we'll say about the same time to avoid any
We're
conspiracies.
completely natural. We're all natural disasters.
Yeah. If you've
So
ever started a fire like outside in the woods, uh, it's hard. Even if you have a fire starter, even if you have a lighter, uh, yeah, it's a heck of a thing that all those disparate fires just started at the same time. It's just wild. Uh,
well, and just on a lighter note, we can maybe make fun of Dwayne Johnson and Oprah. So did you see?
oh gosh, go for it.
I'm assuming you saw the video where they created the People's Fund of Maui to send funding to the people of Maui to help. I don't know. You saw the video, I'm assuming, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm assuming most people have heard about this at this point, but just so you know, maybe Oprah and Dwayne Johnson decided to come together and create this People's Fund of Maui because they're like, this is what Dolly Parton did, years ago in some kind of fire in Tennessee, and this is what we're going to do here. But they were completely raked over the coals online because, for one thing, it sounded just so completely insincere and disingenuous. Two, it sounded completely self-serving. And three, they had the audacity to get online and ask us to start donating money. These two like multi-millionaire billionaires on their, beautiful golf course and perfectly manicured lives, and they can afford to purchase the entire planet, asking us to donate money when the vast majority of us are struggling to buy groceries, to buy gas, and to just get by. And it did not go well. Um, I found the response really interesting, but overall, I don't understand. I don't feel like there could be have been any reason for them to do this other than to just boost their own like philanthropic resumes, to virtue signal, to make themselves feel better. I don't know, but actual like positive, genuine reason for them to do this. I mean, am I being too hard on them?
Now, just for reference here, Oprah Winfrey's net worth, and we never know for sure, so I'll give you guys the spread, is somewhere between 2.8 and 3.5 billion with a B dollars. But it's hard times out there. She needs our money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Goodness
mean,
gracious.
do you think that there was a good reason for them? Like they were being heartfelt, they were really trying to help people, or were they just trying to be like, hey, look at us, we're amazing and we're compassionate?
Okay. Well, that's a I think I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they were truly trying to help. But what this demonstrates is they, as plutocrats, which they both are, they are so far removed from reality. They are so detached from the common man's experience that they can't relate with normal people at all. People that are kind of choosing, like, do I fill up my gas tank, or do I do half a gas tank and buy groceries, or do I buy half a groceries to fill up the gas? Like, those are the kitchen table conversations that Americans are having. And meanwhile, the billionaires are like, hey, you guys should send some money. I mean, okay, so $1 billion, $1 billion. It says that her salary, her annual salary is $300 million. So if any of you invest in mutual funds or retirement accounts or anything like that, then compound interest. Generally, $1 million invested will make between $90,000 and $120,000 a year if you leave it alone. So if you save $1 million and you retire, that $1 million will make you about $100K a year. You should be fine. A billion is 1,000 millions. So if half of her money, we'll say it's 3 billion. If half of her money is invested in makes a modest yield of 10%, which is very modest. I mean, if she has anything in real estate, it's making a hell of a lot. It's making a lot more than that. But anyway, we'll say the simple numbers of half, because I'm a little bit of a math nerd. If half of her money, 150, or not even if half of her money, if a fraction of her money, we'll say 15%, were conservatively invested, that money would make that money, like as if it had a job 9 to 5, would make about her salary. It'd make about $300 million a year. Anyway, just sitting there in an account accruing interest. It
Yeah.
would also. It would also grow between 5 and 7x every 7 years. I mean, anyway, no, they don't need our money. They're just out to lunch. This was pretty insensitive, and they shouldn't have done it. It just makes a lot more sense for someone like Oprah to come out and say, in response to this, especially for all the socialism bullcrap, hey, in response to this terrible thing, I am going to rebuild the homes that were lost for those families.
Yeah. Like if you really want to make it, and she could do that, she could be like, I'm going to build $1 million mansions for every single person's home that burnt down. And she wouldn't even feel the impact of that. And not that that's what the expectation is, but it's like to come out and be like, hey, we need you guys to donate to our fund. while they're standing there, like I said, just like bathing in money. And it's like, why do you think that we have the money to do this? And why do you think that we should be the ones to donate to you? And not only that, numerous organizations already on the ground in Maui that are literally begging for resources and begging for money and begging for clothing and begging for lumber for people to be able to build the home themselves. There have been numerous videos of the Lahaina residents saying, "We already know what to do with the resources. We already know we will get our hands dirty and we will rebuild these things ourselves. Just get this stuff to us." Like there's absolutely no reason to create an entirely new charity unless you want your name on it and you want the credit. That is the only reason to do it. And it's funny because they mentioned how Dolly Parton inspired them because this is something that she did for this
Yeah,
thing that happened in Tennessee. And
it's
that
not
really
what
wasn't
she
even,
did.
well, and I don't know what she did, but it really wasn't even that long ago. But the
Oh,
response,
she did what we're talking about. She gave her money. She said this is terrible, and she gave her money. She didn't ask people for money.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, I didn't have a lot of the details on it, but that was the impression I got from it. But and I just think it's so funny because I think people are really starting to wake up to Hollywood, to the elites, to this massive disconnection between the people at the top, like the top 1% of the country, versus the rest of us. And people are responding to these guys in a different way. Like I don't know that the response would have been that way just a few years ago, but now people are like, you know what? I'm starting to get a little bit of impression that while I'm continuing to suffer, this is not having any impact on you whatsoever. And I'm not really appreciating the
Yeah.
disconnect there. So I was so unimpressed with these people. And I heard that they only raised $50,000. I could be wrong. Maybe that was just at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
But don't give
So
these people their money. Their money. Like go find an organization that is already there that knows what the people
this is a funny little connection, but apparently there's someone named Cool Breeze in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Cool Breeze, especially at work. We're glad that you can get this little respite from work. But Tecumseh actually wrote in a different poem or a different writing about a warrior needing to be as steady as the breeze and as violent as the fiercest storm. He also said that a stick, a single branch is weak and easy to break, but a bundle is strong. He said a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, but then I saw that cool breeze. I was like, oh, Tecumseh talked about cool breezes. So, Mama
oh well.
Outspoken is here.
Yeah. Uh,
60% of Americans are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. Absolutely. 89% of Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency, which means that they don't listen to Dave Ramsey and have $1,000 baby fund or a baby emergency fund. They don't have money to send. Yeah, that's true. Most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. It's a sad reality, but
yeah.
I thought it was more than 60%, but I trust Mama Outspoken for sure.
I know that everybody feels this way, but I know that my husband went to the grocery store the other day, and he's like, "I spent $200 at Walmart," and I was like, "Where's the food?" I was like, "How is it possible to go to the grocery store and spend over $200 on food, and it still looks like we like nothing changed?" I'm just
He
like,
holds up a loaf of bread and like a thing of cheese. It's like this is what I got. Wow.
and I shouldn't, it's. I mean, you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry, but it's like, oh, Oprah and Dwayne, you cannot have money from and I feel for the people in Maui. Like this is not to belittle their pain and what it's been astonishing to listen to their stories. And I have heard, just all these people talking about the things that they need that they can't seem to get access to. And it just made me realize, like, if it is that hard to get resources to people, in emergencies, just like, what happened with whatnot, it just seems like there's too much red tape. There's too much government. Like, if we can't get things to people that they need when poop hits the fan, then to me that means there's just too many people in the way.
Yep. What are you talking about? FEMA's like top disaster relief expert was on the ground in Maui even before the fire started. Super convenient. Uh,
Wait.
yeah. Oh, you didn't hear about that? Joe
I heard
Biden.
something about it.
Yeah, Joe Biden was praising the response of, the big government's emergency response and crisis management. And he said, I forget the top dog's name, but he was apparently on the ground in Maui before the emergency had even started, just ready for his emergency response duties, which is totally normal. Nothing strange or conspiratorial about that at all, YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
apparently most of the firefighters were hanging out at the bottom of the World Trade Center at 9/11. That's not true. That's called humor or satire. YouTube.
Right.
YouTube is for such a smart organization. They sure are dumb. You
Yeah.
have to explain these things, or Samantha will get strikes. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
always just cracks me up. And then there'll be all the liberals on my Twitter complaining about my jokes, and it's like, I'm a disabled U.S. Army veteran, and you're 40 years old, live in your mother's basement. Like, get out of my
yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Like, anyway,
Yeah.
all right.
Exactly.
Do you want to talk pronouns or Second Amendment bans?
Which one?
They both suck. They
Completely.
both suck.
Oh my goodness, that's like completely just two insane things. Just to bring the Second Amendment to the ground, or do you want to talk about pronouns?
Let's do pronouns.
Did you watch this video beforehand?
I didn't see a video. Did you put a video in there? Oh, dang. I did not. So we'll do it live. No, just kidding. Oh,
Right now
that's
that you're done.
that's a
I
old
don't wait. What?
classic. I said that's a classic right there. We'll do it live. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I think it's about 3 minutes long, so you don't have to play the whole thing. I don't know where this was at. It looks like it's either maybe in a high school, but this teacher is getting into an argument with the student, trying to help the teacher what their pronouns are, and the teacher keeps telling this person what their biological sex is, these are the pronouns she's going to use. So it makes me really feel for anybody that has to get involved in these conversations. This hasn't happened yet for me, but she is probably a lot nicer than I would be. So you can play it, stop it. And I think I saw about a minute and a half of it, but it was creating.
Oh, I can't zoom in. What's going on with this kid's like feet on the right? Like how is he sitting like that? Do people sit like this?
They're
Uh,
trying to be a dude when they're trying to pretend to be a dude.
okay. Well, all right. Well, let's interrupt the video when you want to. I'll just hit pause.
Well, she likes to get her presentation. Are you ready? I'm not a she. You're not a she. No, I already told you I go by they, them. They and them. They and them mean multiple people. No, my pronouns are they, them. There's no such thing. No such thing. Yes, there is. So, like I said, are you, which is a she, ready to give her presentation?
I'm not a she. Like, you go by she, her. So when we talk about the teacher said this, she said that. I go by they, them. So you can ask me, or if you don't get it, you can just say my name. You can say, Parker, would you like to present now?
That makes no sense. What were you going to ask?
That's none of your business.
When you came out, your mom, that is where you came out. What were you
Why are we
going to ask?
talking about this right now?
Because I asked you, were you ready for your presentation?
I am ready for my presentation,
And
but I'd
I
like you to respect
acknowledge you.
what I go by.
I am.
You're not though.
She. You.
No.
Her.
No. They, them. You can ask.
They
Are
and them
ready?
mean multiple.
Teacher, this is a new important thing.
Well, it's not important to me because I'm old school.
He said this is a new important thing. This is great. I can't believe I haven't seen this.
Oh my.
She
God.
said it's not important to me because I'm old school. Oh man.
I think that was like the end point of what I saw because someone shared a clip of this on Instagram with like 90 seconds. He's like, well, this is this new important thing. And it's like, and I didn't like that she says, well, it's not important to me because I'm old school, because it's not an old school position. Like, you don't get to just change the way that we talk, and you don't get to change reality. It's not a modern idea, and you don't get to say, well,
Nope.
you're old. So let me inform you about how things work now.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit further. I think it's just a little bit further in this where the person that she's talking to is like, well, fine, call me a he. You can call me, he, him. And it's like, this person is so bound and determined. Like, they don't even care what you call them. They are just bound and determined.
Wow.
To force you into this delusion. It doesn't even matter what it is.
That's an interesting point if she does that, because then she's abandoning her thing on the left, the they them. You wanna keep going?
Yeah, you can play it. Yeah, you can play the whole thing. I don't care. But I was like,
And they and them is considered multiple
You might
people.
not want to say that, though, teacher. It doesn't really kind of go well. You're
Why
being
don't
so
really-
closed-minded right now.
I'm not being closed-minded.
You are.
You're being too
I'm
open-minded. You're too
So
open-minded.
open-minded.
Yes, you are.
There's no
and I
such
agree.
thing as being
Open-minded.
That don't make no sense. I don't know what they and them mean.
Is she,
No,
him,
no.
her?
You know what?
Myself?
Sure. You can call me a he, him if you feel so inclined. How about that?
He, him.
Sure. It'll start you in the right direction of calling somebody something that they're more comfortable with, even though you're not. Because it's not about your comfort, it's about my comfort.
It's not about your
And what
comfort.
I
You're in
identify
my
as.
classroom, and in my classroom,
I'm
you
not allowed to be
are a her
comfortable.
or she.
I don't identify as a she or a her. Please
Oh my
don't call me
God.
that.
I'm gonna call
You
you
can-
what you are.
Perfect.
I'm gonna
you
call
can
you
call me
what-
by my name.
I'm just saying. I mean, this chick probably got fired, and she should sue for wrongful termination if that did happen. But I agree with this woman 100%. Like, yeah.
yeah, like how do we? Like I said, I am so grateful. I have not had this experience yet, but I live in Texas. You live in Washington D.C., so you're probably going to encounter this long before I do. Or there's someplace that's not Texas. Does it really matter if it's not Texas?
Oh, dang. I live in Virginia, ma'am. I'm a Virginia boy.
It just blows my mind because that these people, it's not even, it gets down to the point where they're not even concerned with the identity to get you to lie. They want to break you down. They want to force you into this, my feelings matter more than anything, like we can abandon science and reality, and that is the most important thing. And even, this person here who seems to think that they're just like, they've decided that they're a they, them, like they're even willing to bend their identity, but only to go even more extreme. They absolutely refuse to get back to this place of this is how things actually are. It's just mind-blowing. I don't know what I would do in this situation. I would not give in. I would not start calling this person a they, them. What your feelings are. You don't get to identify as multiple people if you are a singular person sitting in front of me. That's not something we're going to do. And if you're a woman, guess what? You can sit there in your baseball cap and you can dress like a dude and you can be a tomboy or you can be somebody that prefers to express themselves more masculine. Like, if I call you a she, that's not going to change that. I'm not going to demand that you go out in the hallway and put a dress on. Like, you can still be the person that you are, and we don't have to play this game in the process.
You know what's funny about it? Like, so genetic code, when we're talking DNA, a lot of people don't know this. Google it. I am telling you the truth. DNA wise, there's no difference between black, white, Asian, like the skin color, what we call race. Your actual skin color is not genetically significant when we're talking about DNA. And there's actually a book called Junk Science where this criminal pathologist scientist goes through a lot of bullcrap CSI nonsense that people are in prison for that have been convicted, but the science is trash. It's not real. An expert came and convinced a jury that the prosecutor told the jury some bullcrap, and they said, "Oh, yes, we believe it." But if I committed a crime and left some DNA, if my DNA wasn't in any database, what you could tell from the DNA is that I'm a male. My eye color, my hair color, you could not actually tell my skin color from the DNA. People don't realize this. But yeah, because I'm a human. And Kent Hovind, actually, if you're in the old school theologian types, I know he's in like tax trouble now or whatever. It doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that the true stuff he said wasn't true and still isn't true. But your skin color, like a normal person knows, it's insignificant. But it's a huge it's a huge genetic change to go from boy to girl. Those chains are completely different. Everyone learns XY, XX, the whole chromosome thing, and like your kids, my girl children have half from mom, half from dad, but my boys are only boys because you can only become a boy by the dad's DNA contribution. Anyway, I'm not a biologist, so sorry, YouTube. Nothing I said was true just now. I made it all up. But Michael Knowles talks about this, when you decide we're going to change language, we're going to change the meaning of words, the changer has to mount the argument. They have to make a rigorous argument for why we are changing it based on these facts or based on this evidence. We are changing the meaning of boy to this or girl to that or singular pronoun to multiple they them nonsense. But anyway, and
I mean, I get it. The question constantly in my mind is like, where do we draw the line? Like, we talk about how, when it comes to the issue of sports, because this is a common subject right now, but you can't have a male competing against women clearly because the man is significantly stronger, has all of these like physical advantages over women, and that's why we've always had these separate divisions so that women actually have fair opportunities. But you have to look at within these sports, within female sports and within male sports, you have different divisions based on your capabilities. So would it be fair to have a child compete on like a varsity sports team? I couldn't think of a sport off the top of my head, but like, a 10-year-old child competing with teenage boys that are 18, 19 years old with significantly more experience just because they're like, well, I identify as an 18-year-old. Like, would that be safe for that person? And would that new identity change their capability? Like, even within male and female areas of, these different competitions, they have different divisions based on, your weight class, could be your strength class, it could be, your experience level, and just to make things fair in that capacity as well. So it doesn't matter what's happening in your brain. It does not change what your body is physically capable of doing. Not only that, I saw this really crazy video the other day, and I'm not even surprised that we're going here, but this woman said that she was wearing glasses, and then she took her glasses off and said that people essentially were wearing glasses because they felt like they couldn't see. So essentially, and I wish I was sick.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a
I will
minute.
find a video and send it to you. But I was like, it does not matter if you sit there and like you're somebody that
Oh, okay, that's better. Wow.
vision. If you just decide like, hey, in my heart, I know that I can see, and you walk around pretending that you can see, you're going to get hurt. And then you're going to be mad at like the rest of the world for not complying or not accommodating you trying to walk around like you can see when you can. So I'm just over it.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't really get speechless, but it like my bullcrap meter is just overflowing. Like, I have nothing to add. That's the most ridiculous thing. Thank you for that.
I thought I would bring that to the conversation. You're welcome.
I don't even think we should do the Second Amendment thing after that. That's what? Oh, people are giving themselves mental illness. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, isn't that a disorder? Like when you, is it Munchausen's when you think that you have stuff that you don't, but you manifest the symptoms?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my gosh. Oh.
or manufactured mental illness in people, and that's, I mean, just a little side note, that's what this whole like gender confusion thing is too. It's completely manufactured in people because shockingly 99% of the population is not confused about the gender.
We're not going to show it on this show, but the same guy, again, who's running for office, Michael Rivera, if you live in Loudoun, vote for Mike. The same guy, he sent me the media memo. He also sent me a picture that's a real science book picture now, and it's the anatomy of a boy. You know, like the things you see in the doctor's office, like inside the muscles and tissue and stuff. It's usually of a woman turned sideways and she's pregnant. So it's like inside the woman's body, you can see the baby and stuff. It's the anatomy of a boy. And you can tell from the outside shape, that's all we'll say. You can tell it's definitely a boy, but it's pregnant. And I'm just like this is a real image in a science book. It's just like...
Well, yeah. Well, and I don't remember if I brought it up in our last, I think I may have brought it up in the last show, but the expert that said that children can identify as gender minotaurs and gender smoothies and gender Teslas. Did I bring that up last time? Or did you just block it out? Like,
I think you did. Yeah, I remember saying I wanted to be a centaur or something like that. Yeah.
but when people, I'm just saying, when people say, you know, experts say that this is a real thing, let's just remember that the experts believe that kids, if they say they're one gender on the top and one gender on the bottom, that they really are. So that, you know, take it with a grain of salt. And I also feel the need to remind people that this entire ideology was started by a guy who was very mentally ill, who preyed on children, and everything he did was completely debunked. All of it.
Yep.
So there is no reason for any of this to be out there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go read or listen to Abigail Schreier. Miriam. Oh, what's Miriam's last name? Dr. She was on What is a Woman?
Grossman.
Yes. Listen to them, read their stuff. They're not crazy. We're not crazy. I'm starting to feel like, I don't know if you could tell, I'm starting to feel like I'm crazy after tonight's show. Good night. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note that, now that we all feel like our brains have been put into a blender, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Sorry that it I think we ended up trying to make it a little more uplifting than how we started, but this is just the situation that we live in right now. This is the stuff we have to deal with, so we have to talk about it. Just,
Yeah.
yeah. So I appreciate everybody joining tonight, even if most of the comments came from my own mother. I will, I will take it, and I appreciate it. We will be back here next Thursday night unless one of us forgets again or both of us forget, because that just seems to happen a lot.
Your mom's last comment just someone on Judgment Day trying to explain to God their pronouns. He's gonna just be like, "Are you serious?" Oh.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun show for all of us.
Yeah. He can just like split you in two. Like, this would be they, and then like put them back together. It's like, you are one. Yeah. Anyway, you
Imagine
are
God just
one
being like,
girl.
and God's gonna be like, "That's not important to me. I'm old school."
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. Yep, that's it. There's nothing else to say.
We're gonna end it there, guys. You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next week, 7:30 Central Time, and back here, Facebook, YouTube, wherever we haven't been kicked off yet. So we'll see you then.
Bye, guys.